You're listening to Shameless Feminine Speaks with your host, modern-day shaman and sister to all, Rebecca Haywood, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shameless Feminine Speaks, the only show on LA Talk Radio for all you shamelessly shameless women, men, ladies, and misfits ready for the feminine re-evolution. I'm your host, Rebecca Haywood, and as always, I am joined by the lovely, the ooh la 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 la, Tatiana Ray. Yeah, and wow, tonight, ooh, I can feel the fire. I can feel the energy. It has been brewing.
We have a show.
We have a show for you, and it really, I mean, it's been brewing, and
Yes.
through the last few shows, and really last week, wow. You know, I mean, we kind of teased you a little bit, as always. These shows, if you haven't noticed yet, they're never quite what you might expect, right?
Yeah, no.
Right? I mean, last week's show was reveling or rebelling in love's reveal, right? And yet love's reveal, it sounds luscious, and it is luscious, but it's a little uncomfortable,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And love's reveal last week was really about the broken heart of humanity, right? And how that translates, you know, for us in our relationships, really with ourselves. And what other relationship is there?
It starts here, and then we just kind of drag it behind us like a carcass.
Yeah, yeah. But the beautiful reveal inside of that. Please go watch that show, okay? If you missed it, because it's an amazing foundation for what we're going to be talking about tonight, and just for everything in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go after that broken heart, the broken heart, okay? And it's not the broken heart you think. And yet, what was unveiled, what was the reveal within the reveal of that broken heart, was that formation in the moment of that broken heart, that separation from ourselves as love, as perfection, where that development of the us and them, right? The us and them. And
It's the first realization
yeah,
at that point that there is an us and them
Yeah.
in terms of domestication.
yes, yeah.
And that's the first moment that we stop believing in ourself. Well, actually, it's the first moment that we realize that we're even considering ourself, and then we have to not believe in ourselves because we believe what they're saying about us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The lies, right? That you very beautifully pointed out, because we wanted to make sure you all understood that it's not personal to you.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
everyone has this heartbreak. It's the heartbreak of humanity. It's the fall from grace, right? And so you so beautifully, you know, pointed that out, in that aspect of, you know, that it's bound to happen, that
Yes.
domestication. The us and them is bound to form because it's part of,
The domestication.
it's what's here.
So sooner or later, you're playing in heaven, Garden of Eden,
Yeah,
as a part of the whole.
yeah,
You have your individuality that you're very at home in, and you're exploring
yeah,
within the whole, which is we.
yeah,
And then it's going to happen.
yeah,
And you will cast yourself out of your Garden of Eden.
yeah. Yeah, and that's what really hurts, is when we realize we're the ones that cast ourselves out, no matter how young we were and naive and innocent and all of that.
Yes.
You know, we've been perpetuating that. We've been continually abandoning ourselves
Yes,
there.
yes.
And, you know, and really in the same respect that the heartbreak itself isn't personal, it's also the mission to heal it.
Yes.
Is not so personal. That really we're not just healing this heartbreak, the heartbreak for ourselves. We're healing this heartbreak, the heartbreak for humanity, for the all, for the we. You know?
Yes.
So what I really want, why I'm doing this little review for you all, is that the aspect that, you know, we spoke about the lines of defenses, because once the us and them is formed, right, love is a battlefield, right?
Yeah.
And we're defending ourselves against love. Okay, we're defending ourselves against love. And I'm not going to go into the why of that right now, okay? We went into the why of that last week.
Well, real fast,
Yeah.
we're defending ourselves because we're waiting, we're constantly waiting for someone to discover something about ourselves.
Right.
And we're scared.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to find out about me that I don't even know?
Right. That what other imperfection is lurking here,
yeah.
right? That those eyes of love that penetrate, that expose. And that's why, we fear that love, that exposure of that love presents. And so, in those lines of defenses, we start to recruit, right? The I, we trade the I for an us, right? Mm-hmm. And Tatiana beautifully shared her story and how we start to recruit from the I, we become an us, right? Mm-hmm. For that safety, that we're not so alone.
Yeah, safety in numbers.
Mm-hmm, safety in numbers. And we trade the we, the we that we're a part of for them, right? That, again, that love is a battlefield. And one of those defenses, which you wouldn't really think of as a defense exactly, it's one coin of, everything is two-sided here, right?
Yeah.
Codependence, right? You wouldn't really think of it as a defense, right? Mm-hmm. And really what we spoke about as a defense that we each used in different ways was independence. Mm-hmm. Independence,
yes.
Right?
Big fat lie.
Yeah, independence. And on the other side of independence is codependence, which really, they're not different things. They're on the same coin, okay? Mm-hmm. They're on the same coin. And what are we striving for in that line of defense that pushes against love? It's actually another two-sided coin, because we're not just pushing against love. That is actually the way back in, isn't it? If we use it properly, right? Where we can pull ourselves back into the we can pull ourselves back into the I. It's just that we're a little misguided in that independence and in that codependence. The aim is true, would you say?
Okay, you lost me.
Okay. So if that independence and that codependence was created in that battlefield, right? Of us versus them.
Okay.
Right? And in that, we spoke about independence last week as a furthering that separation.
Yes.
Right? For me, it was me isolating, right? Mm-hmm. For you, it was you fighting against, right? Look how strong I am, and I don't need you, right?
Correct.
And yet, if we flip that independence, which I believe is what we're going to do today,
okay,
right? That it can actually be a way in. Mm-hmm. The I, the reclaiming of the I. And it was actually kind of where we landed last week. Mm-hmm. You landed on that of like, but wait a minute, like join us in the we. Let's get back to the we, the we, the whole, the collective. Let's get back to the we.
In order to be in your I, you have to be in the moment, because your I, as part of the collective, can only feel, truly feel, in every moment.
Yeah.
You can't jump ahead, you can't plan, you can't have all of these safeguards and these guarantees that we are constantly seeking.
Yeah.
And we are constantly seeking safeguards and guarantees.
Yeah.
Because, and this just goes back very quickly, because we don't trust that we're going to be met with some type of treachery. And that's the word, treachery.
Treachery. Yeah.
We really, really feel that somebody is going to find out something about us that we are not yet aware of.
Sure.
But it's a defect.
Yes. Yes.
See, that's the big thing. It's not like they're going to say, oh, my God, you've got this wonderful voice.
Right.
It's going to be a defect that they're going to know about and then let us know about our own defect.
Right. And what I'm saying is that underneath that defense and underneath that fear is the yearning, right, to get back to the we.
Oh, always.
Right?
You never
and
lose
that
it.
was really where we landed last week, in that place of like, join us in the we, get back to the we, and yet we have to honor the I, right? Because there is no we without the I.
Yes.
Right? And that we have to kind of walk through that journey and really reclaim the I.
Yes.
Right? Which codependence doesn't allow us to really claim the I. And neither does independence, okay?
Not
the way we use it.
Not the way we use it, and the way we use it is the way we were taught it, okay? I thought...
As an us versus them.
Yes, and I thought I was a very independent woman, and as I said last show, no, I wasn't. I was some kind of a hybrid, I wasn't a woman, and I wasn't a man.
Yeah.
I was some kind of a hybrid.
Yeah.
I took great pride, like you mentioned, in being very strong. I took great pride in being unbending. Oof, you know that one. Unyielding, you know. I took great pride in being stronger than those around me, even men, you see. Not physically, but mentally and emotionally.
Right, right.
I took great pride in besting people. People, women too, people, you see.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought independence was.
Right, right. And my independence was sort of masking an underlying codependence, right? I kind of isolated, I retreated into spirituality.
Yes.
Right? But really, I had kind of a codependent relationship with spirituality, right? That was my us, you know? So, you know, tonight's show is titled Like a Moth to the Flame. Like a moth to the flame. We all know this expression.
Yes.
And as usual, we're going to kind of turn this expression on its head. We love a good hat trick here. And the rest of that title is
Independence or codependent. So see how we use the words independence or codependent.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, it's not either or, independence or codependence. No. Independence or codependent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is what is happening in today's society, because the societies morph according to the most current fads, I would say, in terms of the domestication, don't you think?
Yes.
The domestication kind of ebbs and flows according to the latest trends. And the big trend right now, without people realizing it, I feel, is codependence. Riding on the coattails of independence.
Codependence riding on the coattails of independence. Ooh, explain.
Independence, the way we are shown and taught and encouraged, is to claim yourself and, you know, set up your boundaries, set up your barriers, set up, halt, you've come too far, you know? And we're supposed to take great pride in that, that we know how far people can go with us. And then the other half to that, like you say, flipping it. On one hand, I have all of these barriers that let you know how far you can come, how close, actually, how close you can come. On the other hand, whatever you're doing, you have to be really, really aware of how you're affecting me, how you're hurting my feelings. Don't you know how you're hurting me? Don't you know what happens when you do that?
Nope.
And Rebecca and I are going to say, and I'm saying right now, it's not up to me to be responsible for your feelings. If I'm bumbling along in life and I'm hurting your feelings, I'm bumbling along in life, I'm hurting your feelings, stay out of my way. Obviously, I'm going to hurt your feelings. What do you feel when I say that?
I feel, oh boy, they're going, what? Am I allowed? How callous?
How callous?
How unempathetic? How unsympathetic?
But you know, notice
what happened to this beautiful dialogue at the beginning of returning to the we? Where is the we?
Where's the we in that?
Where is the we in that, Tatiana?
And what I'm saying is, when you take absolute responsibility for the fact that you exist, and your greatest pleasure and joy is to be an expression of your breath, your life. Your greatest expression is to express. Then when you take that responsibility, you will know that everybody else is expressing also. And I feel very strongly that I'm not always going to agree with everybody's self-expression. It's actually alarmingly simple. Alarmingly simple. No, I am not always going to agree with everybody's way of expressing.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where it ends.
Well, you know, and it harkens back to our show, Love Does Not Equal Agreement.
Exactly,
right?
yes.
In which we came to the conclusion that conformity cancels harmony, right? Harmony requires several varying notes, right? At least 2 different notes, right? To create harmony. And so actually it is in diversity where we find that harmony, where we actually find that true definition of agreement, which is harmony. In diversity is actually where we can meld into one, not one note, but one beautiful aria, you know. And Tatiana and I, you know, in discussing that show and kind of debriefing that show, we landed in this beautiful place of talking about symbiosis, right, of nature, right, and how the planet herself requires different life forms that express differently, that have different outputs and have different needs, different inputs, right? And it's all of those differing needs and inputs and outputs that create this beautiful organism that works together like this symphony, everyone feeding the other.
And we always think of symphony in terms of, because even the word symphony. And I was speaking to my son about this, and he can be funny. and then
wonder where he gets that from.
Yeah, but he was listening to me. He was listening to me, you know? And we were talking about the symbiosis.
Yeah.
And then he said, very sweetly, but he goes, yep. Every fly needs his pile of poop.
This is true
but
too.
he said it so seriously, you know, like no matter, there is the reciprocity.
Yeah, love requires reciprocity.
There must be relationship going on all the time. Relationship, relating.
Yeah.
You see. So as you go along and live your life, yes, it's very possible that you are not very thrilled with how I do my self-expression. You see. Okay. Then you don't like it. What? Nothing. Don't hang around me. I bug you.
Or find out how your different note can resonate with that note. You know, in prepping for the show, I shared with you in my relationship with my former husband, Rich. We're very, very different people. We communicate in very different ways. And I would say the first 3 months of our relationship was a lot of just, you know, pausing in conversations to ask questions and kind of get to know
Getting
each
the lay
other.
of the land,
kind of like, oh, well, okay, what does that mean to you? And what does this mean to me? And oh, by the way, this is something that other men have had an issue with in the past, and I'm not changing it. So either... Are you okay with that? If you're not, like, let's call it. We were very much like, let's lay all our cards on the table. And there was one thing in particular that really speaks to this, okay? His way of communicating, you know, he would get very passionate about things, very passionate. And to me, how I was used to hearing passion was different. And I was interpreting it as if he was angry or frustrated, right?
Yeah.
Some variation of anger. And so I just would pause and I would say, oh, okay, wait a minute. Are you angry right now? And you go, no. Are you frustrated? You go, no. I'm just passionate. And with a big smile on his face.
Yeah, I'm just happy.
I'm just happy. I'm just passionate. It's like, okay. So, you know, there was that time of me getting to know. Here's the thing, I wasn't asking him to change the way he communicated. Even though, when I thought it was frustration, when I thought it was anger, it was jarring to my being.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It was jarring to my being. But once I understood, right? Not asked him to change, but simply understood. And that understanding, to me, is where 2 different notes can start to sing together. Right? Where we get on the same page, the same musical page.
It doesn't mean you have to accept it, like it, but it means that you have a certain understanding of it, and so then you can not be so resistant.
Right.
It's not like Rich was trying to make her start to speak the way he spoke, to express the way he expressed. No. And she wasn't asking him to change his expression. She was simply attempting to understand his way of expressing.
Yes.
You see.
Yeah.
And this is where, yes, absolutely, all the different notes, just because we rattle each other, it's generally because we're afraid that we're going to have to change our tune, our note, to match their note.
Or we're not quite understanding their note. You know, do your best to get on the same page. I mean, you don't have to be on the same page. Maybe these two notes aren't meant to be part of the same symphony, right? And that's okay. But in the collective of all, you know, in the collective of the we, to me, there's just, the polarities,
everything exists together.
Yeah. Everything is together. Everything is here now. We are part of a larger we, and we really, politically, sexually, everywhere, we need to really stop trying to ask people to change their notes, change how they're singing their notes, and instead just attempt at least to get on the same page. Don't you feel? I mean, that...
I feel that... No, I don't feel we need to be on the same page. I feel that we need to be less afraid of being tempted to change. I think a lot of times we're afraid that we're being tempted or asked or demanded of that we change.
Yeah.
That we change.
Right.
You see, and it's like, no.
Yeah, it's very easy to go there when we're reaching to be part of the we again.
Yeah.
To go into that one note harmony.
It's an organism. We is an organism.
Yeah.
And what is an organism? An organism is a viable, living being that has many, many components that work together. That's what symbiosis is. Various components that work together for the good of the organism. My heart doesn't do what my liver does, doesn't do what my big toe does, but they work together. And I need them. I need all of them. We're a we.
And they work together because they each do their own thing. They each have their role, their assignment, their expression.
Yes.
And they do it impeccably. And as long as each cell in your body is impeccably performing according to its own little terrain, its own expression, then we live in a healthy body.
Then you have health.
Yeah, then you have symbiosis.
That's right. You see, so what we're speaking about tonight is what is happening is the codependence. We want you to begin to understand and to reflect on how everybody, it's the fad, it's the trend. You know, this codependent behavior. No. This behavior, you're trying to tell yourself you're independent. No, you're not. You're just as dependent on this other behavior that you're... It's like the people with the Burning Man. Okay? I'm not dissing Burning Man, but I am saying when you go to Burning Man, and then there's a certain protocol that you follow. There's a certain, hear the word, certain. There's a certain way of being. And they're calling that we're being free. No, you're not. If you already have a certain protocol set up and you don't follow that protocol, no, that's not independence. A lot of people gathering together independently, no, you're not. You already set up guidelines. Guidelines. The moment you have guidelines and rules, there goes the independence.
There goes the freedom. Yeah. And when you're flexing your freedom, is it really true freedom?
Exactly.
Right? What are you proving? Right? True freedom has nothing to defend.
It never it never
nothing
speaks.
To prove. Yeah.
It never says a word. It just is. It walks as your life. It walks through life as life.
Yeah. Yeah. And true freedom, the expression as true freedom is going to shift and change,
moment to moment.
Moment to moment.
That's why all philosophies eventually, all philosophies and religions, but I'll just say the word philosophies, all philosophies eventually are speaking about moment to moment, or be here now. Here, right here now. This is the only place in life where you can understand what it is you want to choose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you choose now does affect your next now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not codependency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the codependency that we're speaking about, and we're going to have you really consider, is when you are dependent on some type of ritual when you wake up, and you're dependent on having a certain type of a tea, and you're dependent on so many minutes of meditation, and then you're dependent on sitting at your special tree that no one else is supposed to be around when you go to sit by. Okay, all of that is, from your point of view, giving you your own place. No, it's not. No, it's not. The fact that you can live and breathe and walk and look around, and Rebecca has a wonderful story about bees today, but we both cried. She sent me the video, and I sat in a little restaurant, and I just had tears in my eyes. You see, in that moment. Yet I have a story about bees, and our neighborhood handled it a different way, and it was a happy story, you see. But in the moment, I was so happy to have tears in my eyes. I was so happy to be moved. I was so happy to feel the tenderness and that spot for my fellow organism known as bees.
Yeah, yeah. And so I want to ground this into a couple of things before we move on to the bees, because I think the bees is like the heart of today's message. Really, they really are. So let's ground this into the difference. Okay, what is the difference then between this independence, right, that we practice, our domesticated version of independence, versus what we were inviting last week, the honoring of the I? So speak into that difference.
What we're taught right now in terms of independence is to be powerful and strong in your identity and how you express that. Take no prisoners, in a way. To be very, very, to be very, very clear about your type of self-expression. But there's an edge to it. You see, there's a hardness to it. There's no yielding to it. You don't feel a flexibility there. I'm me.
It requires those rituals, right? It requires those definitions, those guidelines.
Absolutely. You're calling it I am I. One of the things I noticed on Instagram right now, another trend, is for their handles, it's I am Tatiana Ray, I am Rebecca, I am. And then you put your little name for it. All I'm saying is, every time we're following trends, is it something that's natural to you, or is it something that you're defining yourself by to help you give you some definition? So this independence that I feel we're being taught right now has definitions. There are walls assigned to us.
Yeah, and it's still flexing its muscle. It's still an us versus them.
Absolutely.
Or, a me versus them. And what I feel that this domesticated independence is lacking is that vulnerability, that flexibility, that true humility, okay?
Which is
you
the
said
moment.
Something really beautiful in your invitation for tonight's show, your written invitation. Do you remember what you said?
Which part that we play the game of love for our destruction?
Yeah, and the futility of independence.
The futility of independence.
And true independence. True independence is knowing that only life has all the answers. True independence is knowing that only life has all the answers. And when I first read that, I went, that's not what I was expecting for, true independence is this. Oh. And I instantly was in love with it. Because it immediately was challenging that way of independence that we have been taught. I mean, just think of America, God
Yes.
bless America, and like women's
boundaries.
rights and empowerment and it's
Definitions, like you say,
Yeah.
all the defining.
There's a rigidity there and a disconnect, actually, even though we feel very connected to whatever the cause is that we're so independent and that we're seeking the freedom for on behalf of, right?
Yes.
There's your us, but there's still a versus, and there's still a disconnect, and there's still a lack of truth there.
And there's
in
an
that
isolation,
vulnerability.
I say.
Yes.
The
isolation.
independence that we are being encouraged to have nowadays,
Yeah.
according to the trends.
Yeah.
But the independence that we are being encouraged to incorporate is an independence of isolation.
Yeah. Isolation that is still reaching back towards the codependence, right? Of I will isolate myself into this camp, my chosen camp of us, and we will all sing the same note, right? In agreement. We will all express the same way. We will all live by the same guidelines. And that's how we form our little, it's not really a we, it's an us.
It's the word tribe. My tribe, my tribe, my tribe, my family, my village.
Yeah, even when we were going through that mystery school of dreaming with Miguel, and I understood the reason for it, and I suppose it served me to a degree, but there was very much an encouragement of a separation from others. Anyone who wasn't in dreaming, they won't understand. They don't speak this language, don't attempt to explain to them what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And that really left me in a place of kind of perpetuating that isolation that I'd always used spirituality to retreat through.
Well, it's interesting because I wrote in the chapter that I wrote for the book, Shamanism in the New Millennium, that was one of the reasons that I left my family shamanism, because I really could feel the us and the them.
Yeah. So be mindful, even your spirituality, even these most precious and beautiful movements, even the feminine movement, which we're very much behind, they can create that us versus them. And that's what's so important, that we're aware of, like, how are we really truly using this?
Are we using it for the health of the organism?
Yes. Yeah.
The little bees, and I love how you showed it to me, but I said, well, the little bees go out as eyes, and they pollinate, and then they come back to we, the hive, But in the moment that they go out, they've never really left, as you said. They never really left the we. They're an I momentarily, and then they come to the we. But it's like they have these wonderful umbilical cords.
Yeah. And that I think is a beautiful, the other thing to kind of ground in before we step into this. I know the bees are just going to take us. I can feel them. So before we let the bees fly us away
Into dreaming.
Let's also ground codependency.
Yes.
Okay. So in the same token that there's a difference of, independence and really, and actually let me speak into the journey to the I. Okay. And it's more of a reiteration of what we said last week, that honoring of the I is so important. And we did we touched on it here, but let's just reiterate that it is that honoring of the I, that you do your part, you do you, and I do me over here, and now somehow we're dancing together.
Yes.
We're
this
singing.
is symbiosis.
Yeah.
This is symbiosis.
Yeah, we're very different. We don't agree all the time. Not at all. And yet there's a beautiful harmony in that, because we're not trying to get the other person to agree with the other. We're each doing our own
And we accept the differences. We accept the differences.
Yeah.
I mean, we're very accepting of the differences.
Yeah. And in that journey to return to the I, like true I independence, is, what we said is let it kind of come organically, right? If we're really seeking to define the I, then no, we're not in the I. Now we're in that recruitment of camp and the us versus them.
You're automatically into us and them.
Yeah.
Automatically.
Yeah. And so it's really to get back to that I, and that true independence is just surrender. It's not this like claiming of power and of self. It's actually surrendering the self back to the whole, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and I feel that what they're terrified of, not just today, but what we have always been afraid of. I know for myself, I went into combative understanding. You went into alone understanding, But really, I was, like you used the word terrified about the love and the gaze last
afraid
show.
of love,
And what we're terrified is if we don't keep these a certain isolation, insulation. I like that word better. If we don't keep a certain insulation, so rather than isolation.
I like that too.
But independence, as taught, we use independence to keep insulated. Okay?
Yes,
And so this insulation that we keep is very important because it's a membrane between me and my we. It's a living membrane. And so independence being a form of insulation, then the codependence means that we're constantly looking for another to help us feel, because we are intrinsically a we. And there's that yearning you were talking about. That's that year. Do you know, every love song, don't see it as a love song or poems or anything. Don't have them talking to like someone else, my lover, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, you know. It's you to you. It's the lamentation. It's the universal lamentation or adulation. You see.
Adoration.
Oh, adoration.
Yes. I think that we're bridging into that codependence question. So in that independence, that is the independence.
So in that insulation.
In that insulated independence, we are afraid. Why are we insulating? It's not just because we're afraid of love. We're afraid of the dissolution that love offers. You know, we're afraid to lose the self.
The way Rebecca said, it penetrates everything,
and it obliterates, and we dissolve in the eyes of love. You know, and that's truly what we're seeking. We want that union, which is why we have this codependency. We're like, oh, I want back into the we, I want back into my hive, I want in.
Understand me.
Understand
you know
me,
what you've done to me? So talk and I'll talk at the same time.
Gosh,
Can't you see what you've done to me?
Hear
Look
me.
Can you?
Don't you
what,
understand
do you know how
me?
I'm feeling right now?
Why
oh my
can't
God! Why
you
would you
just
continue to
see
do
me?
this? Why?
Why?
Right? See?
Yeah. And you know, and I have been guilty of this even as of recently. It's such a, you know, it is that when we're in that place of longing for the reunion again, when we're in that place of feeling like, where's my hive? You know, it's so easy, it's so slippery to go right into that place of like, I just want them to see me. I just want them to understand me the way I speak.
They can't hear me. They can't hear me.
They can't feel me. I want them to feel me. I want them to know. I want them to know me from the inside out.
And then I'd say it right there. Say that again.
I want them to know me from the inside out.
And yet you're insulated. And yet you have saran wrap around your heart. And yet when she came to my home with a delicious little luncheon, I was suspicious and my doubts opened the front door.
Right.
But we want to be known from the inside out. But that's the truth.
Yeah, we do. And there's nothing wrong with that yearning.
No.
Follow that yearning. It's just catch, you know, this relationship between independence and codependent is that push and pull that we all feel, right?
Yes.
You know, especially in those intimate relationships where we feel ourselves like, oh yeah, we're getting closer,
Take me,
and then all
take
of a sudden,
me. Wait,
we're
too
like,
close.
whoa, what happened,
So,
right?
so take me again. Take me. Too close.
Right? And then how do I take that when she says, too close.
And
now I feel rejected.
Yes.
And
And
so
I'm going, what did I do?
Now I
What
move
did I
further
do?
away, or maybe I get pissed, and now I reclaim my independence. Well, I didn't really want to get that close to begin with.
And so she's really very, very happy that I have this certain saran wrap, this little plexiglass wall.
Yeah.
You're actually you're cheating because you were waiting. Well, wait a minute. Where's that wall? Where's that wall?
Yeah, we're playing chicken with each other's defenses. Who's going to blink first?
Oh, that's perfect. Say that again.
We're playing chicken with each other's defenses.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You know? So see, that yearning is real. It's real. You do want, I said, what is intimacy? Intimacy is you reach inside and you pull my guts out.
Yeah.
I want you to know me. I want you to know everything about me. I have no secrets anymore.
Yeah. Oh, ding! Confirmation. She has no secrets anymore. Somebody agrees.
And the codependence is the misrepresentation. The misrepresentation
Of that yearning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's okay for that yearning. Okay, so we're kind of, it's not a dangerous message. It's just we're inviting you to honor that yearning
Yes.
for the communion, and yet to be mindful, right, of how it is being misrepresented by that codependency.
And really,
so how do we do that?
What
Tati?
you do is you use your common sense. I used to tell my sons when they would leave, and they still were young, and they didn't drive, and there'd be a little weekend, a little Friday, or they'd go to the show, mothers drove or whatever. And I'd give them their little $20. And I would say, you can buy drugs and liquor with this, and I would never know. But I'm not stupid. You see? And they would go, Mom, oh, Mom, But what I'm saying is, you have common sense. You know what you know, and then you spend the rest of the day trying not to.
And I think it comes down to one very simple awareness. And we've been talking about it in, I don't know how, maybe every show. That, and Tati kind of began the show this way. I am not responsible for you, and you are not responsible for me.
Yes.
And it's contrary to what we think is going to create the communion and the return to the we and the hive, by saying, here's where I begin and end, and here's where you begin and end.
But put your hands up like that,
Yeah.
see? Okay? But there's a wall that we count on, and we're not making a joke here. We're counting on this little plexiglass wall.
But when there are no defenses between
We can
my
do
I
this.
and her I, where I begin and end and where she begins and ends, when there's no defenses there, we touch. There's no plexiglass,
Yes.
We can touch, and now we can commune. We can come together. We can sing our different notes so beautifully
And we
together.
don't have to agree. You see? You don't have to agree and be agreed with.
So you honor the yearning, honor the desire for the communion, to return to the we, and yet know that the moment you slip into codependency, this is how you recognize it, is when you are making somebody else responsible for your experience.
Don't
period.
you know how you're making me feel? You need to understand how your actions just affected me. No, I don't. If I was rude or callous or inconsiderate, then I was rude, callous, and inconsiderate according to your perception and description.
You see the lines there? But they're not lines of defenses, okay? They're just lines of truth, right? They're simply lines of truth.
It's common sense.
And it's really, actually, I'm sure you've heard it before. It's more disempowering to say, gee, I made you feel that way, right?
Yeah.
Well, now, or disempowering to myself to say, you made me feel this way. Because now I'm saying you have that power over me.
Yes.
Or I have that power over you.
And now,
that is not
if
true.
we're going to do that, and she says to me, tell me that I did something to you, so tell me.
Tatiana, you hurt my feelings.
Okay, so now I get to say, if I'm really devious, now I know how to hurt her feelings. Okay, she just gave me a blank check.
Uh-oh.
You see?
Love
But
is a
instead,
battlefield. Love
if
is a
I
battlefield.
do something, and your perception is that I hurt your feelings, and you take note of it, I'm assuming, and then you work with me a little bit more, and then maybe you talk to me, and then you're not going to see me on the show anymore. I mean, it's common sense.
Yeah. Versus another way to go about it, which we've actually done before, is you've done with me of like my written words, and you've said, Rebecca, this hit me funny. Mm-hmm. I don't understand what you mean by this. Love is sorrow. Mm-hmm. Explain it to me. Like excited. Explain it to me.
Yes.
So before assuming disagreement, before assuming disharmony, before assuming any kind of contra, anything,
yes,
there was a question.
And I was excited because I realized, okay, I didn't like it because I can say it hit me. Mm-hmm. But I was excited because I thought, wow, I don't like this, but what's here that I have never contemplated before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't assume that she was wrong and I was right simply because I didn't like it, because I didn't like it. But I did not, I'll say it again, I did not assume that because I didn't care for it, that she was wrong and I was right. What I knew by the fact that I didn't like it is that, whoa, this is a point of view that I've never considered. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then you explained it beautifully, and I went, oh, wow. Mm-hmm. And it gave me more space to understand.
Yeah.
You see, she opened up a gate and a portal for me, and I got to step through it. Wow, yeah, okay, I never thought about this.
Yeah. This is the beauty of different points of view, of different ways of expressing, you know, different ways of loving. It's all love. It's all love.
It's all love.
It's all love. And so, you know, yes, surrender the independence.
Which is the insulation. Mm-hmm. Surrender your insulation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we understand why we are insulating. Mm-hmm. We're very afraid that something is going to happen that will expose us. Mm-hmm. And what is going to be exposed?
Or that we'll lose ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That there are going to be areas of ourself that we're not even aware of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So surrender that independence, because what you truly seek is the communion. Yes. Don't be afraid of losing yourself. You're not going to lose yourself. No. You're not going to lose yourself. Mm-hmm.
No.
No matter how much you dissolve, you won't lose yourself.
And the misrepresentation of the yearning has become codependence.
Yes.
So when someone does say, wow, are you aware of how that made me feel? No, they're not, because obviously they did it.
Right, yeah. Unless we're assuming they're meaning to hurt us.
So no, they're not aware of what they did and how it affected you. No, they're not aware, okay? But do they need to be aware of how you're feeling and how you're dealing with what they just did?
Right.
But the yearning, and this being actually an act of love, what they did, let's say they were inconsiderate, okay? Mm-hmm. And if you say, are you aware that you were very inconsiderate and that hurt my feelings? Where's the harmony in that? Mm-hmm. Where is the dismantling of that plexiglass wall?
Mm-hmm. Right. Whereas in the example I gave with Rich, I was honoring the yearning to understand, you know, so I was asking. She was honoring her yearning to understand, so she was asking, what do you mean love is sorrow?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So honor the yearning versus the defense. You see the difference there. I hope you can see that difference.
Yes.
Because not only must we surrender the independence, the insulation of that, and not be so afraid to lose the self, we must also surrender into the yearning, okay? And are you going to bump up against your own, like, insulation? Are you going to bump up against their insulation? Are you going to feel that push and pull? Yeah. Are you going to slip maybe into some codependence? Sure, it's okay. You will. Yeah. And watch it happen. Pull yourself back. Return to the yearning, right?
And don't be afraid. Like, in other words, you might be saying, so then what is codependence exactly? Okay, so according to what we're saying tonight,
it's making another responsible.
Yes, it is making someone else responsible, and it's a misrepresentation of your yearning, you have feelings inside that you want to be one. You want to be one. You want to be understood. You don't want your feelings hurt. You do want to be heard. You do want to be seen. But not by others, by yourself. You want to be seen by yourself. You want to be heard by yourself. You need to pay attention to you.
Yes. Yes. When you are feeling unheard, ask yourself, am I listening to myself?
Yeah.
Am I listening to myself?
Yes.
When you feel lonely, ask yourself, am I present with myself? Right?
Yes.
You know, be your own best friend. Be your own best lover.
Do you know how you made me feel? What should they be asking? Do you know how you made me feel? What should they be asking?
I feel. I don't, it's not a question.
Exactly.
I feel.
I feel.
I feel, period. It's not a question. I feel. I feel this way. I feel that way. And sure, there can be a when you on the end of that, but it's not out of blame. It's simply a statement. And help me to understand so that I can feel closer to you rather than farther.
Yes, and do you really want to play?
Yeah.
I mean, are you aware that your yearning, this yearning, is for the organism of we?
Yeah.
Are you aware of that? Are you aware that you truly, truly, truly yearn to be a we?
Yeah.
And they can come up in many different ways. In my case, my we is my relationship with my husband, and we spend an inordinate amount of time together, because we both work from home, and we wake up together. We're in the house together, unless he's going with clients, or unless I'm out of town, and we go to sleep together. I mean, we eat together. If we're home at the same time, we literally have breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. To see.
Yeah, codependency is not about how much time you spend together.
No.
It's about how you spend that time together.
Yes.
Where you each are sitting. You each don't abandon yourself to be present inside the other.
Exactly.
Right? You are present in yourself.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Rich and I were the same way. We had a
Yes.
lot of time together.
We shared that
because
information.
we worked together as well. And so, codependence is not everything you think that it is, but it is a lot of what you know that it is and that you are still allowing yourself to do, okay? Catch yourself, catch those moments, plain and simple. When are you making somebody else responsible for your experience?
Responsible for your experience. Responsible that you feel you got your feelings hurt.
Or when are you making yourself responsible for another's experience, right?
Exactly,
It goes
yes.
both ways, okay? That's the co.
And why
Okay?
do you have to be this person that has this attention constantly? Does that mean, how much attention are you paying to yourself?
Yes, keep turning it around. Keep looking in the mirror. Live in that mirror room. It's a little bit solitary, but it's not lonely. Because you got you, babe. You got you, babe. And that's how you make that organic step of honoring the I in independence, in the true independence of honoring your I, really getting to know you, the I, and being so present with you, the I. And organically, you will begin to return to the we rather than this us and them.
Yes,
okay?
and even the codependence would be a very sweet way of saying the we.
The we, yeah.
Co.
The we.
Like I'm a co-host. You
Yeah,
see?
yeah.
There's a there's an ambiance of we here.
Right. Well, one of our viewers made a comment on our Facebook post. What about co-independence? And I thought, beautiful,
Yes,
right?
yes.
There's also the word interdependence,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But I do love that co-independence because it really brings it. It really brings it.
I think that's what we were talking about, Rich and Darius. and how-
Cohabitating as individual beings.
Yes.
And that brings us to the bees, because the bees, oh my goodness. So today, as I was walking just before the show, I'm so glad I went for this walk because I walked down this street and stumbled upon this beehive that I had actually discovered last summer. And my heart broke because this beehive now, please go on my Instagram. I posted the video on my story. This hive is this opening in this beautiful old oak tree, and it's just this opening that looks like a vagina. I mean, it's just it's the mother opening, and
it's huge.
It's huge, and this hive was huge, you know. And these bees, every time I would walk by, they were just like buzzing everywhere, like this cloud of life, just inhaling
and I love the
and
droning.
exhaling as one, and just like singing as one, and so beautiful. And I loved to visit. It was a power spot for me. I loved to visit it. And today I walked up to it, and first I noticed before I saw that it was quiet. It was quieter than usual.
Oh.
And over the opening in this tree where the hive was this netting that was stapled into the tree. And outside were all the bees, and they were angry, angry. And they're trying to get back in,
Oh.
They had been cast out of their garden, out of their hive. And yet they were still there, and I just was watching them, like looking for every way back in. And it just struck me of like, what a beautiful reflection of what we have done to ourselves as humans, how we have abandoned ourselves, and we have abandoned ourselves from the hive, how we have cast ourselves into this place of disconnect, of separation, right? And we're looking for every way back in. And through that independence, we think maybe we found it, or through codependence with a person that, I'm not codependent, but we're so merged, and we think we found it. We seek it in love, we seek it in God, we seek it, under the roof of church and
with our practices,
in bed, and we seek it everywhere. This communion that we're all just trying to seek to get back to that hive any way in. And that was this beautiful breaking open of my heart with the bees today that just showed me keep trying, because as I had finished recording this video, and I'm still just like sitting there lingering, and this woman walks by, and she's on the phone, and she lives in that neighborhood, and she's saying, somebody's taking a picture of the hive. Yep, we tried to get rid of that hive, but it doesn't seem to be working. They're just coming right back again. And I just said, yeah, we're coming right back again. That's right. So, I know this is kind of a larger, dreamy message here from the bees, and today's message was a lot of flipping and flopping, a lot of two-sided coins, and we're on the one hand saying, like, cut it out with your codependency, and cut it out with your false independence.
Use your common sense.
Yet on the same hand, we're saying honor the yearning that is underneath that codependence.
That's absolutely the
honor
message.
Honor the I in independence.
And the message is honor the yearning.
Honor the yearning. Honor the yearning. Go for it. Don't be afraid to lose yourself. Don't be afraid, because we all are trying to get back to the hive. And it needs you. The hive wants you, okay? We're back in the hive. We're in the hive. And we're waiting for you. We're waiting for you. So no more push and pull. Don't be afraid to lose yourself to love. Lose yourself to love. Lose that self to love. And rediscover the I and the we.
And when you dissolve, because you will be dissolved, you will be dissolved. But what will be dissolved is all your armoring.
Yeah.
All the insulation.
Yeah.
That's what gets resolved and dissolved.
Yes.
Resolved and dissolved.
Yeah.
And what is left is the only way that you can re-enter the hive.
Yes.
Is in total sweetness.
Total sweetness. And so in applying this to your life, make a commitment to yourself, okay, to honor that yearning, to follow it no matter what, okay?
Hug, kiss, laugh, participate.
And with your relationships, if you have a partner in life, have a conversation with them about that. Say, I don't want to live in relationship with your defenses anymore, or you with mine. Let's dive into the deep end with each other. No more push and pull. Okay?
No more yo-yo. This yo-yo thing. This yo-yo thing that we tolerate, that we accept, that we look for.
Yeah. and practice that depth of intimacy with those that are in the hive, you know, and with those that you are in the hive with them, because, right, you might be in the hive with some and kind of out here, you know, behind the netting on the other side with others. So find those relationships where you feel yourself as part of a we versus rather than an us and them. You know, find those relationships and really sink your teeth into them. Dive into that intimacy. Use them as a practice ground, a playground to dissolve.
And little by little, you'll begin to feel more, you'll begin to trust that you, as your own best friend, with everything dissolved and finally resolved, once you enter the hive, once you're part of the we, that's the end.
It will come organically. It really will come organically if you simply follow the yearning, okay? And catch those moments where you make another responsible or you get responsible for another. Catch those moments, strip yourself naked of them again, and surrender yet again to the yearning and keep going.
And it doesn't mean that you don't see or feel what you are seeing and feeling, but it is also what you are seeing and feeling. You see, I'm not responsible for how you feel. And
the I within the we.
That's right.
You didn't know we was spelled with an I. But it is.
Oh, well, I guess we gotta go.
Oh, we're over time. We're so naughty.
But you know where to reach us?
Yeah, you know where to find us. RebeccaHaywood.com, TatianaRay.com, The Delphine Experience on Instagram and everywhere else on social media, and Shaman Sister. And we love you so much.
We love you. Thank you.
We'll see you again next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific.
Here's to the hive.
Here's to the hive, yeah.
You're listening to Shameless Feminine Speaks with your host, modern-day shaman and sister to all, Rebecca Haywood, right here on LA Talk Radio.